I got obsessed with that Kebmo album, Keep It Simple.
I remember that record, yeah.
Yeah, and that was a big album for me also, like at that age.
McDonald's Blues, but...
Well, I was 10, so I guess maybe there you go.
I feel like...
There you go. It was like it was perfect. And to be honest with you go back and listen to that album. I think those songs are just nostalgic for me. Because when you go back and listen to them, it does feel like the soundtrack to a made-for-TV Lifetime movie where a grandpa is teaching his disobedient son how to ride a horse for the first time. Like, that is Kembo's music, but it's a beautiful album.
Welcome to Overeducated and Underemployed. We got a really fun episode this week. I'm sitting down with my buddy Carson Taylor. He's got a comedy special coming out next week on YouTube. It's called Tally Ho. Make sure you check that out. We got into all kinds of stuff, philosophy of comedy, his whole story. Really, really great conversation. I hope you enjoy it. I'm going to be up in Athens, Georgia next week for like a week, so come find me. I'll be doing Jittery Joe's Clean Comedy on the 17th. I'll be doing the Flicker Bar on the 21st. I'll be doing a club in Winder, Georgia, just outside of Athens, on the 22nd. So come see me. I'm going to be doing some new jokes. So those of you up there that have seen me before, I will be doing all new stuff. This Saturday, make sure you check out P-Funk Fest. I'm going to be broadcasting live on my YouTube channel, so make sure you go over to the YouTube channel and subscribe. I'm going to be interviewing members of Parliament Funkadelic, covering the fest itself, talking to all the artists there, and I've got some new equipment to capture it with, so it's going to look really good. So y'all look forward to that. And that's about all I have for you this week. Here's my interview with Carson Taylor. We get into it. It's awesome.
15% fat, ground beef. And then I went and got sauce.
What was the use of the different beef percentage of fats for?
It was just one that popped up in my head.
Okay.
That I've seen before.
Got, like, a specific percentage for a specific...
No. I usually just grab whatever gets me out of there faster.
You just grabbing meat willy-nilly, huh?
Yeah. No. But I see what you're trying to do.
All right, I think we're good to go. Yeah, we're both on frame. Cool.
We're here.
Welcome to Overeducated and Underemployed. I'm here with Carson Taylor. He's a comedian. He's also sprung on me last night. He's a pretty good guitar player, too.
No, I'm okay.
It's easy to impress me on guitar. I'm a white boy.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm going to ask you the same question I ask everybody.
Okay.
And what's the first song you remember loving as a kid?
Oh, wow. The first song I remember loving as a kid. Oh, yeah, I have 3.
Cheater.
Oh, okay. It was all around the same time. It was Stash by Phish, because my dad was huge into the band Phish. And then it was Smooth by Rob Thomas and Santana. Oh, Layla, Eric Clapton.
Yeah.
Derek and the Dominoes. So those are probably the first three songs I remember loving.
And so the variation of the question that I ask comedians is, what's the first joke you remember imitating as a kid?
The first joke?
Or like bit.
I remember my mom and her boyfriend at the time were watching Chris Rock, Bigger and Blacker had just come out. And it was the joke about Superman can't walk.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
he's like, what's next? Aquaman's going to drown in the bathtub. And I didn't even really understand that joke too much. I just knew it was funny because they laughed at it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I remember going to school and telling people that joke. That was the first joke I remember. That was probably like when I was like 6 years old or something like that. I remember like standing in my room, the way the living room was, I could like, open the door and like, see the TV from the thing. So I like watched that whole special like from a crack through my door, basically.
It's amazing like, that end up being these. It's like a portal into your parents' world.
Yeah.
They don't have any idea.
It was a living room TV, and of course, I say it was a big TV back then. It was probably like the size of it.
You're just like spying on them.
Yeah, I remember watching that special and then watching the movie Sleepy Hollow.
Oh.
Yeah, and then I was like, all right, I'm done watching whatever they're watching. It freaked me out.
At what point did you start to? Were you really passionate about music as a kid?
Yeah, that's like I wanted to be a musician like all my whole life until I started doing comedy.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean that. So you're the example of a thing I talk about all the time on this podcast, which is that all comedians are wannabe rock stars.
Yeah, maybe not all.
Us was like, no, that's not me.
Yeah, but there's definitely comedians that you end up finding out like they play music. Right? And there was a time in high school when they were like, I'm going to be the next Neil Peart or whatever, you know. So, yeah, no, I totally feel that because I was definitely the same way. Because, like, when I was a kid, my dad was, like, huge in the Grateful Dead and Phish, and he was a radio DJ and everything. So I started playing guitar, and I was obsessed with Jimi Hendrix and all that stuff. And then, then you turn 13 and you try to learn Eruption and, like, all that stuff. In my mind, I was like, I'm going to perform at Bonnaroo because we went to Bonnaroo when I was 10 and 11 years old. Right. And that was the dream all throughout high school. It was like, one day we're gonna play Bonnaroo. So, yeah, want to be rock star for sure.
They have comedians at Bonnaroo.
Yeah.
It could still happen.
It could still happen. Anything can happen. But, yeah, and I still make music and release stuff. I put out, like, a free little... just an instrumental album of like beats that I made and stuff on Bandcamp.
Okay.
So I still like.
There's a link in the description of the episode.
Yeah. So I still make stuff for fun, just put it out there, but I do not do anything for money as far as music at the moment. But I did have a band called Shropshire Collective. There's still a band called Shropshire.
Okay.
Yeah, SHROPSHIRE Collective, and. We put out an album like 2 years ago. That's on Spotify and all that stuff or whatever.
Let's back up a minute. I want to hear about this, but I feel like we're getting way ahead of ourselves.
Oh yeah, sorry, dude. I'm rambling.
You're fine. I want to hear about that, but I want to hear how you decided A, to be like, oh, I'm going to pursue music, and then B, how you moved away from that or gave up on it, or it doesn't sound like you fully gave up on it, but gave up on it as I'm gonna make it.
Yeah.
Musician, and now you're making it as a comedian instead. But I want to back up. So you're passionate about music as a kid. When did you first get a guitar, you said?
It was my like first memories of actively because like I saw the movie School of Rock. That was the moment.
That movie
School of Rock came out and I was like 10 years old and we got it on DVD right when it hit the shelves and it changed my life. I remember like having a guitar and at first I only had a guitar with one string and it was this old electric guitar or whatever, like this like Gibson knockoff SG. And I would just sit there and watch and just play that one string over and over again and try to learn. Like my neighbors taught.
Tenacious D had the one-note song.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Tenacious D's got a one-note song.
Oh, okay.
So I mean, I think you were just on the same wavelength as back then, man.
I just knew I had to get started at that age, but then eventually got all 6 strings, and then I would watch that movie and I would slow down the part where he was teaching the kid. I think he teaches them Highway to Hell, Iron Man, and Smoke on the Water.
Right, that is what he teaches them.
And so in super slow-mo, I would just sit there and watch their hands and I would just try to learn
That's amazing. And this is pre-YouTube for those of you out there. So like it's
that's 2 years before YouTube, I
the
think.
closest thing you could get to YouTube instructional videos.
All I had was that, and then we had Comcast on demand, and I think HBO, because we had a subscription, they had free like guitar lesson videos. So it would be like a guy teaching you how to play. Because like back then at that age, it was like I was obsessed with Green Day, so it'd teach me how. When I come around and like all that stuff. So that's how I started learning power chords, was through Comcast on demand. I think they're Xfinity now.
So what was the first concert that you remember going to as a kid?
First concert that I remember going to as a kid? Ooh. As far as my memories, it's the first Bonnaroo.
Okay.
Yeah.
When you went to was 04?
Yeah, so it'd have been like the second or third Bonnaroo.
Third one?
Yeah.
Started in 02?
Yeah, so it would have been the third Bonnaroo.
Well, yeah, anyway. Somewhere in there. It was the early years before it got bought by Live Nation and all that.
Yeah. So I remember... Ooh, actually, I'll tell you, know what? My earliest concert memory is actually going to the North Mississippi Allstars sound check at Soul Kitchen, because my dad is friends with the owner of the Soul Kitchen, and he worked for 92 Zoo at the time, and so it was just a radio station in Mobile, and so we would listen to the North Mississippi Allstars all the time at home.
What was this?
It's 2004.
I think I was at that show, man.
Yeah, so I have Luther. We got to go to sound check, and then Luther and Dickinson and his brother, they let us come on stage, Cody, and they let my sister like play the drums, and he let me play his guitar, and then Luther gave me his slide, which is still the slide I use today.
Oh, wow.
Although I suck at slide guitar. When I mess around with it, that's the slide I've had since 2004. I was like 10, and there's a picture of him like putting his guitar on me, and then I realized, like, oh, a real guitar is like heavy, dude. it was like as heavy as I was. It was weighing me down, but. Yeah,
What a cool experience, man. I've had Luther Dickinson's his assistant producer, Cody Shade Harrell. He's Cedric Burnside's bass player, but he plays with those guys a lot nowadays.
Yeah,
I've been listening to those guys since I was like 18 years old. Like the Allstars were my path from rock into Americana and blues.
Yeah.
And like the more modern stuff, not the classic blues. But I got into the Allstars before I got into the Drive-By Truckers. They were like my pathway.
Their album Polaris, which came out in 2003, I think, that was a huge album for me.
The experimental one they did. That was like a little more popular.
When I was a kid, me and my little sister, that was a huge CD to us. We'd listen to that all the time. I think it's like all of them sitting there, and it's like a greenish background or whatever, like a yellow.
I know the record. I love that record.
I'll go, dude. That for me, it's like when I go back and listen to that album, and it's like my childhood again. Like I love that album.
Yeah, it's like freshman year of college for me.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oddly enough, it was like when I was growing up, my two biggest albums were that one, and like early part of childhood, it was that one and Chingy Jackpot. Chingy's a rapper from St. Louis.
That is not something I've heard of.
He had a song called Right There and Holiday Inn that were huge in 2003, 2004.
Okay. I think I remember all day.
Yeah, it was with Ludacris and Snoop Dogg.
Okay.
And, yeah, that was
Luda who?
Ludacris. But that was 2003, 2004 for me. North Mississippi Allstars and Chingy. That's what I was obsessed with.
Electric Blue Watermelon, and it's like the world's collided. Like that's the chopped and screwed.
Yeah.
Mississippi All-Stars.
Oh, yeah, I forget about that one.
They screwed Electric Blue Watermelon into that.
That's right.
I've got a copy of it laying around here somewhere, man.
Yeah.
It doesn't hold up.
By 2007, I became obsessed with Nirvana and The Doors. So, like, early part of childhood, it was North Mississippi All-Stars and, like, hip-hop. And then 2007, it was literally, I think for 2 or 3 years, all I listened to was Nirvana and The Doors.
So, in 05 at Bonnaroo, which you were at too, right? North Mississippi All-Stars played, but then they also played that thing with John Medeski and Robert Randolph, The Word.
Oh man, I love The Word. I love The Word. I've never seen them, but
Sunday at Bonnaroo.
My dad used to listen to that.
You probably
did. Yeah, my dad, like that album, with that like tannish brown album, yeah, with the heart or whatever, that album rules.
Yeah, that album is really
The word's awesome. They're badass.
No, it's just cool to me. Like, I'm thinking we've been in like a lot of the same concerts long before we ever knew each other.
No, I know, but I was like a 4th grader.
Not much older than me. That's the thing, like, when I talk to people that are either a little bit older than me or a little bit younger than me, like, now the age difference doesn't mean shit until you start talking about back then.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. No, yeah, or the opposite is true, too, for, like, children's programming a lot. Now, I had a kid in 2007, 2008, 2009, but a lot of the time, somebody will be talking about some children's programming, you know, that they grew up on, and I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah.
All the really good cartoons I grew up on and stuff, all the younger people, they know a lot of it. Because it stuck around.
And the rule.
Yeah, it stuck around.
I grew up on like early Simpsons. My dad, like when I was a kid, there was a time where I don't even know if we had cable, because he had all these stacks of VHS tapes that he had taped of The Simpsons himself. And he would even stop the record during the commercials and then record again. So we had Netflix in 1999 of like just all commercial free Simpsons on VHS tape that he labeled, and he just labeled them like Simpsons 1, Simpsons 11, so you had to guess which one would be a season, because maybe like Simpsons 14 would, they were all just randomly what would come on TV. So Simpsons 14, it would start off with an episode from season 8, episode 6, and then it would go into season 3, episode 2, so you never know what you got. But we would figure out, like, we like the compilation of Simpsons 17's a good one, so that one would get set to the side, and we had like a greatest hits section.
Springfield Roulette.
Yeah, we knew what episodes we wanted. Like the softball one was huge. We loved that
You
one.
were like Star, the really good ones.
Maybe there's a chance. Yeah, there's a chance.
So The Simpsons really did it for you. What was some of the other comedy that really
When I was a kid,
got your rocks off?
SpongeBob, early SpongeBob as a kid. I remember watching the premiere episode of SpongeBob, like when it first came on television. Like growing up with those first 3 seasons, it took over every classroom in America.
Yeah, I got into SpongeBob like way later when I just like stoner culture, or just by the time I had a kid that got into SpongeBob. But I like missed the window. Like, I was too old for SpongeBob.
Yeah.
So I got into SpongeBob, like, later. But if I had not had a kid or while it was on, I had no idea about it. Now, like, I think I told you last night, like, I took mushrooms and watched the SpongeBob musical, and it was one of the greatest fucking nights of my life.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I love SpongeBob.
I feel like from, like, 1999 to 2003, as far as, like, references and being part of a culture, SpongeBob was to kids what Chappelle Show was for adults. Like, we knew the lines and the references and would try to do the characters. It was a big deal.
I was not aware of.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
At least it was where I grew up. SpongeBob was huge for us.
I'm sure it was. I think those are the kinds of, like, cultural things, though, that I reference. Like,
but I love Chappelle Show too. Like, I would go to my friend Dwight's house. So his parents, like, his mom was like cool, and we kind of let it like he got to play Grand Theft Auto.
Okay.
So it's like I go over there and I get to play Grand Theft Auto. So that was cool. And then like when I went over there, I saw Chappelle Show for the first time, and it was like I didn't fully get everything, but I was like, something's happening here.
Yeah.
Chappelle's just funny.
Chappelle's, he's one of my all-time.
So,
he's made his mistakes like anybody else. But
I haven't seen his last 2 or 3 specials, but it's like, hands down, he's one of the greatest of all time.
The thing that bothers me, and we don't have to get too super into this, but the thing that bothers me about him is I don't think that the material that he keeps getting in trouble for is worth the trouble.
Yeah.
Like, it's not funny enough to be, like, regardless of any punching down, like, I don't even want to get into all that, but I'm just saying it's not funny, like, it's a not funny enough hill for him to die on. That's what I would say. And then his last special was like an hour and 20 minutes, and if you cut if you cut 20 minutes of it, it was fucking amazing.
Yeah.
So I just don't think that I think he's doubling down on the wrong shit, and it's making him less funny.
Yeah. His humor, as far as what I hear other people say and stuff, it seems like his newer specials have definitely like caused more divide than his earlier stuff. You know?
Sure. And
and it's like he's speaking his mind. It's part of being in America. I need to check him out before I really have an opinion on him. You know what I mean?
I'm not even trying to comment on content. I just don't think. At a certain point, I think he's letting his like desire to prove that he will keep doing whatever he wants is making him less funny. Like that.
I feel that. Like sometimes, like I think some people can get way too preachy.
Yeah.
But see, that's the other thing. You can't even. It's hard to say that about him because sometimes he'll have 15 minutes of silence that builds up to one line that like boom. It explodes in the room, and you just have to sit there and be like, "This guy's a genius."
Well,
you know,
I think what's important is like what we were talking about that I think is relevant to like what I'm after here on this podcast is like your early influences of comedy,
yeah,
and your early influences of music, and what did that ever converge for you?
Music and comedy?
Yeah. I mean, there's like Weird Al, but...
So, I was never a big Weird Al fan. I remember when White and Nerdy was huge growing up, and I would watch his... Because I was just such a Nirvana fan, I would go back and watch his Smells Like Team Spirit or whatever the song is.
Smells Like Nirvana.
Yeah, it smells like Nirvana. That's what it is. That's what it is. But, yeah, he... I think it smells like Team Spirit instead of Team. I don't know. Anyway, but it was probably one of the early days of YouTube when someone would just be wrong. Like when everyone thought Phish was that bluegrass band that covered gin and juice.
Or Napster.
I remember Napster. And it was probably one of those situations. But, so I knew Weird Al from just a handful of songs, like a Surgeon and all that. But now I can't ever say that I was like a huge fan or I knew too much about him. I haven't watched that movie on him either, which I hear is good.
So you weren't super into Weird Al, but did
I guess the first
comedy ever really crossover for you?
Music and comedy stuff that kind of crossed over for me really that I realized was this is like when I was young. The Chappelle Show, the episode with John Mayer.
Oh, yeah.
Where he played the guitar, because I was just starting to learn how to play the guitar, like when that episode came out, and I had it on DVD.
It's one of my favorites. Chappelle Show.
Yeah.
It's actually what I was referencing when I said it was easy to impress me with guitar because I'm a white boy.
Yeah, dude. And that was huge to me, because like eventually, this might have been a few years after it came out, but eventually my parents just let me like have a Chappelle Show on DVD, because I like kept talking about it. So he's obviously watched the whole damn thing. But so I was obsessed with that sketch, and I just loved how he played guitar on it, on each one, and then at the end when they started doing the theme songs, it's like hilarious. And so that was a huge influence, I think, on how comedy and music can go together.
Even did music.
But he had a song that I remember being obsessed with, and then this guy that used to be what's his name? Oh, Dimitri Martin.
Oh, yeah, Dimitri.
Love Dimitri Martin. And so, like, when he would do musical comedy every now and again, like, I loved that.
Yeah.
There's a handful of things that I realized that it could be made, but I never...
That's never something you've tried to do.
I've written, like, one funny song before. It's a breakup song, but it's also each last line is funny. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And... at first, I was like, actually just went through a breakup, and I meant for just the song to be sad. And then I played it for somebody, and they laughed, and I was like, yeah, that is ridiculous. So now I realize, like, it's just a comedy song. You know what I mean? Like, I think there's some poetry in there in the beginning, and then it just goes into...
That's amazing.
Ridiculousness.
I love that. Was it soul crushing when they just laughed?
No, it made me, it was obvious. I was like, yeah, this is funny.
You were like, oh, I'm hearing this out loud for the first time, too.
And I played it at like one open mic before, but it just feels weird to do music and comedy. Frank Zappa I love that. That's incredible to me. Or like Parliament Funkadelic, the way that they use comedy and music's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
But it's still, I feel like when you do it on in a musical way like that on that big level. Like Phish is very comical, and sometimes on their New Year's shows they'll do big things. But I feel like it almost has to be more theatrical in a way.
Yeah,
and I'm just not a theatrical. Dude, I just sort of like
musicals or.
I remember when Across the Universe came out. That was good. But I've never been a huge. I'm trying to think if I ever liked a musical.
Did you
I like there's old musicals that I've seen that I love. On the Town.
Oh, I don't think
with it's Frank Sinatra and Gene Kelly and another guy that I can't. But that one, the sets are huge. There's this one where this. It's like they obviously just use this stage, but the way that they do the background, you're like, where's this filmed? It's crazy, like in the Superdome, like some of that stuff's just. I love old films. Like one of my favorite movies that I haven't watched it in a while, but I have it on DVD, and I'll go back and watch it from time to time. Is the original 10 Commandments, and I'm not a. Yeah, I'm not a religious person at all, but I love that movie. Just the story of Moses rules, and just how big they basically just built Egypt. And like now that everything's like digital and can be AI now and everything, it ruins like a huge aesthetic of like back in the day they would just hire a bunch of people had jobs, and I was like, all right, it's like, what are we doing today? It's like, we're building 3 pyramids, and you're like, Jesus, and it's like, let's do it. And it's like crazy.
I think if you watch the Lord of the Rings movies and then you watch the Hobbit movies,
yeah,
that exemplifies exactly what you're talking about. You go from these like massive sets in the Lord of the Rings movies,
yeah,
handmade costumes, and everything being on a fucking green screen.
Yeah.
It's just
yeah, no, those old movies are like wow, like the good, bad, and the ugly. Like just some of those shots of the landscapes, they're incredible.
Too, man. Like,
oh man, his music is fire. There's just certain musicians where every time there's a chord change, of course, it just makes me mad. What is that? It's incredible.
So, at what point did you decide you wanted to be like a performer, though? You're playing guitar as a kid, right? And you're performing. It sounds like you're performative with your friends, repeating sketches on TV and things like that. But at what point is it go from, okay, this is like a hobby that I enjoy doing, to I want to take this really seriously, and not necessarily I want to be a comedian or I want to be a guitarist or whatever, but it sounds like you always knew you wanted to be some kind of entertainer. When did that realization happen?
There was times where it all probably was around high school, 9th or 10th grade, because somewhere around 9th grade, my dad showed me the movie Pulp Fiction.
Okay.
And then all of a sudden, it's like, I didn't realize there's people behind the camera doing stuff. You know what I mean? I never looked at it like,
right.
You don't realize what you're not conscious of as a kid until you become conscious of it. I think it was just the fact that he was just telling me about Tarantino and all this stuff. And then we watched Reservoir Dogs because I started getting at that age where I was like 15, 16 and stuff. So, so he started showing me, we started watching like cooler movies that we thought I should see. And then like Goodfellas and all that. And then I got obsessed with like directors and like writing and stuff like that. So then I would try to write my own like little short films. And then another huge moment was I got in a band when I was in high school, and it was these guys, Shropshire. These 2 guys in high school basically heard that I could rap because our album is like pretty much like half hip hop and half like funk rock. So my best friend Curtis, he basically, they said that they were looking for somebody to join their band and they wanted someone who could rap. And he was like, oh, dude, my buddy Carson can rap. And they're like, really? And they're like, yeah, and he plays guitar. And then they're like, but he can rap? And then he was like, yeah, but for some reason he always has to rap about doo-doo. And that's, we were in the 9th grade. And I was like, we were obsessed with Dave Chappelle and all that. Doo-doo's a big word.
Well, funny.
It's hilarious.
It's so funny.
It works.
It's just.
And then I went to the first band practice there, and I like brought my guitar, even though I was supposed to rap. And I was like, well, I play guitar or whatever. And at that point, I was like getting good with the blues scale and the major scale, so I could like solo a little bit, but like high school soloing, which for a smaller town in 2010 wasn't like I go back and in my mind I was like shredding back then, and then I'll go back and listen, and it's almost like listen like an SNL sketch, like bling, bling. That's what it like feels like now. But I knew how to solo a little bit and be a lead a little bit and like improvise because I was obsessed with like Phish at that time and the Grateful Dead and all that stuff like around 16. So I started smoking weed. And then, and there's a story that I'll tell you in a little bit. That this was there's a solidifying moment where I knew I wanted to be a live performer. But I got into the band, and we like in a year, it was like all we worried about, dude. Like I'm sure all of our grades were like slipping. We had to be the best band, and so we've got to play Bayfest, which is cool in Mobile.
Yeah.
And then we played 3 shows at the Soul Kitchen in high school.
That's wild.
So it was fun. And then everybody went to college, and then we were like doing that thing where it's like we'd all get back together for 3 months and do shows, and then everybody would go their separate ways and get back together for 3 months and do shows.
Christmas show.
We did that for years. And then COVID happened, and my buddy Zeke hit me up, and he was like, hey, man, we're always trying to like still rap and freestyle and make beats and mix. We love like mixing genres and stuff. So we have songs where it's like a hip hop beat, but it's got slide guitar and electric piano, just different, just having fun, trying to mix.
I'm stoked to listen to it.
Trying to mix. It's half comedy, half serious, half hip hop, half rock and funk. It's yeah. It is. It's fun. I enjoy it. It's weird. Like, one thing that I'm still upset about is we named the first song. The first song is beautiful, in my opinion. I really think it's the best song on the album that opens the thing. And the album's called For the Children. And so Zeke just named it Drops of Poopeter. And I feel like when people read that, I was like, dude, still 20 years later, the poop and doo-doo jokes, like, it doesn't end. But
train of them.
yeah, and I just feel like when people read that, they're just like, I don't know if I'm going to listen to that one. And it's like, it should be called just, no, please, this is a beautiful song. I'd rather call it that. You know what I mean?
That's hilarious.
But yeah, no, so it's a weird album, but I enjoy it.
You said a minute ago there was a moment you like realized you wanted to be a live performer.
The moment I realized I wanted to be a live performer was when I was 16 and my dad, or maybe 17, but my dad took me and 2 of my friends to our first ever Phish show.
Okay.
In Alpharetta, Georgia. So it was like 2011. It was June 14th and 15th, 2011. And we went, and the first night, me and my friends like snuck and got some mushrooms and we ate them. And so we tripped for the first show, and it was like, oh man, this is incredible. You know?
Yeah.
And then for the second show, we like slipped away from my dad so we could like do more, get in more trouble. We like, the second show, there was like this crazy thunderstorm. It was like almost like tornado watch. Like, yeah. It was wild, dude. It was lightning. A tree like fell over on a concession stand.
Was this at the Hi-Fi Buys Amphitheater?
It was back then it was the Verizon Wireless Amphitheater. Yeah.
The first time I went to it, I think it was called the Lakewood Amphitheater.
But yeah, so it was like going, we were tripping our balls off, and it was going down, dude. Like, the storm was crazy, and they were in the middle of the song Mound, and it was getting weird, and then they knew they had to leave the stage, so Trey goes into the mic, and he's just, sorry guys, we have to leave, there's a storm. They just kind of keep doing all that and messing with the noise and everything, and then lightning struck, and everyone screamed, and they kept hitting this bell on the stage. It was just a lot to take in as a kid. And this lady behind me was freaking out, and she like grabbed me and started swinging me while the music was going on. And it was like we started like sliding down the mud on the hill or whatever. And I was like, got to the point that I was like scared.
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, we're like, they left the stage, and everyone's just like trying to pile under the pavilion, and we're like sitting there just like getting soaked, and rain's like pouring down, and we're trying to make our way through all these people. And then next thing you know, there was this dude that I had met. I didn't know who he was, anything about him. And then next thing you know, we like get through all these people and there's just this patch of just empty space, and I look up and that guy's just standing there, and he's wearing jorts and a black trench coat, and he just looks at me, and I looked at him like and he just goes, "I know." And we hugged, and I just instantly felt better. And then it was a great experience. And then, but that was the moment that Phish, when the show started, they played this like bluegrass cover, Paul and Silas, and it was clear blue, beautiful skies. And each song got darker, and the clouds got darker. And then as soon as I felt better, I was like, I don't know what's going on, but I want to do this to people. I want to take people on a journey like this. And that was the moment that I knew I was like, I want to be a live performer. At the time, musician, but now comedian. But yeah.
That's wild as hell. I had a similar experience with Panic one time. I was on mushrooms, and they were playing Spirit of the Swanee Music Park. It was like one of the really good Panic shows.
Yeah.
Because we've talked before, and I think everybody knows, like, Panic can be really great, and they can be really not great.
Yeah.
But this was a great night. This was a great show. And it wasn't scary. It didn't get scary. But it did feel like they were controlling the weather.
Dude.
I was convinced they had, because they started playing Maggot Brain.
Yeah.
And the skies opened up, and I'm just like, these fucking sorcerers, man.
Dude, I'm telling you, like, I tell people all the time, I have friends that, like, hate jam bands or not into it, and I try to get them to go to a show with me. Because I finally convinced my buddy Curtis to come see Phish with me. We saw him 3 times. At the Warfare. I think he just went to 1 show. I went to 3. But he finally got it because he was like, oh shit, this is like a fucking wild party. And I was like, dude, like the moments when like when your favorite band gets deep in a jam and they're like locked in, you're like, this is like one of the, you know what I mean? Like,
no, I think we were talking last night about the Drive-By Truckers. I played you that video of them doing Hell No I Ain't Happy, going into Prince's Sign of the Time. Like,
yeah.
That's one of those moments for me when they're like, when I've seen them do that. There's been times when I've seen them do that where it's just like, they are nowhere but with each other and with us and present.
Yeah.
And there's nothing like that in the world, man.
Yeah.
And I think that's the kind of shit that I locked into as a kid with music that made me, I don't know that I ever wanted to be a rock star or whatever, but I have followed bands around since I was like 13 years old, nonstop. It's just, that's what I do. Like, my hobby is traveling and going to concerts.
Yeah.
What was it? Did you struggle with like anxiety or depression as a kid? Were these like an escape for you, or
maybe?
Like,
I mean,
thing that you were experiencing?
I mean, my parents were divorced, and my dad, he got a divorce. He got 2 different divorces in my childhood, and so I didn't struggle with depression or anything, but I think definitely from maybe some of that stuff, I think just maybe from some of that stuff I really got locked into like how music can take you to like a million different places. Because like I remember like maybe around that time when he was like going through stuff, I got obsessed with that Kebmo album, Keep It Simple.
I remember that record. Yeah,
and that was a big album for me also, like at that age.
McDonald's Blues, but
well, I was 10, so I guess maybe there you go.
I feel like
There you go. It was like it was perfect. And to be honest with you, you go back and listen to that album. I think those songs are just nostalgic for me. Because when you go back and listen to them, it does feel like the soundtrack to a made-for-TV Lifetime movie where a grandpa is teaching his disobedient son how to ride a horse for the first time. Like, that is Kembo's music, but it's a beautiful album.
It reminds me of like that. Remember that Hawaiian guitarist is
beautiful. That song will make you cry.
Yeah.
And I don't know anything else that he does. Assume that his other songs are just like, and here's a song from Aladdin, and then he just does another hit song from people's childhoods. Because I don't know any other thing that he covers. I would love to think this would be awesome if he did that one song, and then I go to find his other music, and turns out he just did like Outkast covers. That would be, I want that to be the truth.
I only knew he had one record that I knew of that had that Over the Rainbow cover on it. I think he passed away.
Yeah, he did pass away.
But I don't think anybody knew anything other than they would buy that album and they would only listen to Over the Rainbow.
It really, because it will, depending on what you're going through, it could make or break your day. Like, it might be the last song you want to listen to for the day. You're like, all right, and we did that. We did that. Yeah. It was like 50 First Dates. When you get to the end and he sees his daughter, spoiler alert, or she sees his daughter, whatever, you know how it ends. And that song starts playing, and every time you're like, I guess I watch what after this? That 70s show? I should read a book and go to sleep.
So, at that point, did you think you wanted to be a musician?
Yeah, I wanted to be a musician. And
16.
Yeah.
When you had that moment.
For sure.
And you were like,
I was in the band at the time, and then we broke up after we were together for like a year, and then we broke up, and me and one of the guys and another dude started a jam band senior year of high school called the Young Uncles.
I'm pretty sure that Ben Folds wrote that.
Yeah.
The band broke up without me.
Yeah.
Oh, he just took the long way of kicking one dude out.
Because we ended up having a. It's so funny because the album ends up becoming both these things, but we had an argument between the band where two of us wanted to be more of a jam band after, because we went to that Phish show and we came back and we're like, guys, we went to the bass player, the drummers, you don't understand what we could do. You don't, like, we need to be playing 31-minute songs that change people's lives. And so, with not the skills to be doing that at all, we should be playing 2-minute and 30-second songs and learning proper chord structure and changes. So we literally, what happened was the other guys, they wanted to be like the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Yeah.
And when you listen to our new stuff, it's basically like a jammy Chili Peppers, like when you listen to the album we made. But yeah, eventually it's just like, okay, I think we're just these guys and we just need to have fun.
And the bass player to take mushrooms is probably what happened.
Yeah, we were, for that age, we were doing wild shit.
You came back from the Phish show, and you had also, like, you had been on psychedelics during this
experience. Yes.
You're like wiser now.
Oh,
right?
dude.
You come back and you're like, I've seen the shit, guy.
And it's so funny to be like that when the place that you went to be enlightened water's $11. You know what I mean? No, I went to the land of the free to learn to meet my God. But
and you don't start doing comedy for like another almost 10 years at that point then?
No, I did comedy I started doing comedy when I was 20. So I started 4 years later.
Like 25.
I'm 30. I'm about to be 32 in 4 days.
Forgetting how young you are.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm so gray.
I'm bald.
Yeah. I'm starting to go gray.
You got your hair, man.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I'm like hoping eventually maybe I can just pull off like the Stavi look or something.
You just gotta enjoy what you are. Enjoy what you wear. That's the trick to comedy, because like crowds will eat you alive if they think you're uncomfortable, and not even in a they'll heckle you way. You can just feel them not like you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think.
Or they're nervous for you because they can tell you're nervous for yourself, kind of thing.
Ways that I had set myself up for an advantage to start really strong with comedy was I had already taught college. I'd already taught adults. I was already very comfortable up in front of a room of people that didn't necessarily want to hear me talk.
Yeah.
In front of people that were like, this is fucking school, or this is required training that the state's making me do, or whatever. And I think just being comfortable in that situation, like I can go up and bomb, and it doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't bother me at all. I'll learn from it. Or I'll know, like, I feel like I have enough sensibility to know whether it was me or the room.
Yeah.
And, like, sometimes it's both. Because there's this, like, synergistic energy in a comedy show that, like, the crowd has to want to laugh.
And they also have to feel like they're in good hands.
Yeah.
Because comedy is one of those things, especially on the lower open mic level and stuff like that. Like, people don't know what anyone's going to say. Yeah. And they're just there to eat a sandwich.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the ways that, like, Kill Tony has really damaged our industry. And
yeah.
That type of comedy is Lord shit.
It's like the yin and yang, because I'm not a big fan of the show. I have friends that have done it, and I support them. It's like they've had great.
I wouldn't do it.
Oh yeah, 100%. If I was in Austin when it was going on, like, I'd probably sign up and check it out.
But Tony is the worst part of the show.
There is a good and bad to it, and just from, I think what could end up happening with some people is they get to a point in their career way too early that they're not ready for, and then when you go to these towns and you have a bad set because you weren't ready to do 45 minutes, you should have been doing 15.
Right.
Then also there's the fear that might hurt you, not forever, because I think people's time, as long as you get better, there's nothing that anyone can say if you're getting better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just, as long as you're getting better, you're going to be fine. And so it is one of those things where, like, I have a buddy who, because I've been to Austin twice. I went before the comedy boom in 2017. When I started, podcasts, like, blew up, and this was like 2014, and WTF and Joe Rogan became, like, the biggest things on the planet.
I waited for Marin to finish his.
Yeah. That put more eyes on stand-up comedy because all these comedians were starting podcasts. And then the Kill Tony thing happened, and then it was like, the Kill Tony is basically the lottery for stand-up comedy.
Right.
Where you go and you pull your ticket, you just pray that your number gets called, and then there's the second, it's almost, imagine to get $1 million, you buy your ticket from the gas station, you scratch it off, they're like, you got the right number. Now 3 people are gonna punch you in the face. And if you can withstand it and be funny, you might become the next whatever. So there's, like, an element of it to it where it feels like the lottery for comedians.
Well, I think that's the element that I think has damaged the industry the most, because I think the trickle-down effect of that is that now everybody thinks they can do comedy.
Yeah.
And it's one of the hardest things you can do, I think, period.
And I think one of the issues that, for me personally, and I can't speak for everybody, but I think for me, one thing that I don't like is that it showcases that comedy, as a lot of Kill Tony, let's say 90% of it is comedians on an open mic level. How many times have you seen where someone's like first, second, or third time ever doing stand-up? And it's on, they get on there, and I get it, you winning the lottery, you could just happen to just be perfect for that 3 minutes.
Stupid decision on the parts of the comedians.
But yeah, but they get their clip out of it and all that. So, like, I understand that, but I think when most comedians start out, especially just in modern times, we usually start off we think comedy's offensive, and the fact that, or like, we have to go for shocking topics. And I was the same way. Like, when I first started, my first couple of joke notebooks are just like shock value comedy, and I think a lot of people start off doing that until they figure out how to make joke structures and then how to make anything funny and start putting their personality into stuff and things like that. So I think it showcases nationwide that comedy is this thing that it really is just on the amateur level, and some people, like, just think that's what comedy is. You know what I mean? Because it is so big, it's like the Walmart of comedy right now.
Yeah.
And that's one of the good things that Kill Tony and Joe Rogan have done.
I was a Marin guy, big time.
I don't take advice from him unless it's about fighting or, like, stage presence.
I don't know if that's good advice.
Yeah, If I want to learn how to shoot a bow and arrow properly, I'll listen to Joe Rogan. But past that, I'm not voting a certain way because Joe Rogan's, I got it figured out. But, like, I just think Joe Rogan and Kill Tony, a part of the reason why I could even do this tour is, I would say a huge part is because of them, because they've made comedy so popular.
Yeah. I agree. It's a yin and yang.
So, like, it is one of those things where, like, as much as there's things that I don't like about it, there's also things that I'm like, I get to eat a lot off of comedy because there was not this much work in the South 10 years ago.
I think it's helped the industry, but it's hurt. Here, I think what you were talking about, I think helped me get to where I really feel about it. And I think what it is, I think that any comedian who thinks it's a good idea to go on one of the biggest platforms in the world for comedy, their first, second, or third time or whatever, if you haven't been doing comedy for like at least 6 months or a year, why? I think I'm not saying they shouldn't let them on.
Yeah.
But I think it's an incredibly stupid career move to sign up, because if you do get pulled and you suck, like, first impression.
And second, you only have 1 minute, which means you can't really do a story.
No.
You have to get
It's incredible.
And then the other thing is, I feel like your chances are better if you have years of theater, because then you're not so nervous about being in front of a live audience and talking. You have experience doing that. The people who have no experience doing that and it's their second time ever on stage and they do Kill Tony, I'm like, oh my god.
Into a heckler in
yeah.
you can hear.
I was like, dude, there's no way you're comfortable, and we can all see it.
For sure.
And
I think that launched this whole conversation is the moment that you're not comfortable on stage, the audience will eat you alive.
yeah.
The moment they can say, now I think there's comics that can lean into being uncomfortable on stage. Emo Phillips is a good example, I think. Like he is like awkward by nature, and that's his shtick.
But he's still in control though, because he has you know what I mean? You can still feel it. I feel like people put off an energy, you know what I mean?
Deprecating humor is so effective because
Yeah.
you start saying anything that somebody else might be thinking about you, and it completely disarms that.
Like, I do a lot of self-deprecating humor just because that's always the kind of... I grew up, I loved Homer Simpson and Dave Chappelle, and a lot of the times they're the punchline of the joke or the situation. And so, yeah, I've always just enjoyed humor that, like, where I just beat up on myself. And then I have things or observations and opinions and stuff like sprinkled throughout my set and everything.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I know my story, so I like just figuring out jokes that I can remember about funny things that happen in my life. Or if I have an experience, say I go through a drive-through and something hilarious happens, it's like, oh, I need to jot that down.
Yeah, I think for me, like, it's similar, but it's almost just like the reverse of that, where it's I'll find a joke about something in the world that I think is particularly funny.
Well,
But then I'm like, but what will really make it funny is if it's really about like my perspective or my insecurity or my whatever, and like usually like that's the truth anyway. It's like getting to whatever it is that I'm uncomfortable with in the world, like,
yeah,
usually comes back to me anyhow. But if I could get to the root of, that's usually where it's really it clicks, because it's like, okay, I'm no longer criticizing the world. I'm just talking about this thing in the world that bothers me, and here's what about me makes it like incompatible.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think
those are like, especially the opinionated jokes, the best ones are the ones that are almost like completely bulletproof. Where like every angle you think about it, you're like, damn, that's a good point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's tough to write those, but it takes a lot of figuring it out and thinking about it from different angles. And
I have a joke that I worked on it for like 9 months before I told it on stage.
yeah,
I like workshopped it with one of my friends, just to, not because I was worried about whether it was offensive, but just in case. I'm like, if he thinks it's funny, then it's bulletproof.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not worried about being offensive because it comes from a real place, and I'm not hateful about any of it. Like,
yeah.
But if I get him to laugh at the joke, I've won.
Yeah.
It's over.
I think it's good to get people's opinions on it. Definitely.
That I do that.
But I always am like a believer too. Just listen to the audience, because if something's funny and it's a good point, the audience says, well, you give it up.
Let me clarify. I was working on this joke for 9 months before I ever told it.
Because I'm like, I heard Jerry Seinfeld saying the thing where he's like, the audience will teach you what kind of comedian you are. And I really think that's so funny just because it is.
He doesn't listen to us?
When you get... I love Seinfeld. But
I don't think he's a great stand-up.
Oh, I do. I love Seinfeld. But no, so I do believe it's like when you listen, like if you're going on stage and you're completely being yourself, it's almost like this, like you're this blank marble slab, and every audience chisels away at you until you become the sculpture you're supposed to be. You know what I mean?
I think I approach it the complete opposite.
Yeah.
I started comedy really late in life. I had a really good idea of who I was, what my value. Like I was like in my late 30s, mid 30s when I started. I had already raised a kid. I think had I been doing comedy throughout that time period, that would have been true. But coming at it as like an older person that like stepped away from like quote unquote normal life to pursue this shit.
Yeah.
I'm more like, here I am. I know who I am.
Rock me like a hurricane.
But no, it's like I know exactly who I am, and you can either like me or hate me, but I know that I'll find the people that like me. For me, it's like the opposite. Like but that's why I waited 9 months before I told that joke on stage. I knew it wasn't there yet. And once I was confident, it fucking killed. But I was like, I know it's not there yet.
Yeah.
So it was. I do listen to the audience if I know a joke is funny, but it's not working, because it's okay. I'm not setting it up properly.
Yeah.
There's something I'm not doing right, but I still know I'm confident in like the core of the joke or whatever. I think what you're saying is completely valid. It's just like I approach.
Oh yeah, but that's the best part about comedy is everybody like, as long as your way's working, then that's the way to do it. And so that's
working for you.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it. Thank you.
You really are
because
one of the funniest people I know, for real. I think you're fucking hilarious.
Dude, thank you. Thank you so much. I think like it's important to take people's advice when it's in terms of just like, hey, stage presence, or like I had a guy like a year or two ago tell me that apparently I didn't even notice this, but he's like, yeah, dude, when you talk, a lot of the times you rock side to side a lot when you're on stage. And so now I'm way conscious of that. And sometimes if I'm about to do it for a second, I'll be like in the moment conscious of it and stop myself and just stand there and talk and like, hold my stage presence. And so like little things like that are important to take. But I think as far as what you want to talk about, it's like you got to be the person that you want to be on stage. And even if you're going to do hard-hitting subjects and stuff like that are going to make people's neck hairs stand up when they first hear the setups of jokes, that's just something that you got to ride out.
It ends up being about an insecurity that I have.
You're saying something and doing a misdirect. It's just one of those things where it's like when you do that humor, the setups usually make people's hairs stand up on the back of their neck. And then so.
No, when I told that joke last night, and I could see, like, I told her afterwards, I was like, I saw you clench. Like, I saw it, and then once I got through it, she was, like, relaxed and laughed and whatever.
Yeah.
But I could see she was nervous for me.
Yeah, that's definitely, like, how I changed as a... Because when I first started off, I was, like, just, like, straight up shock humor. Like, I was just trying to be shocking. Yeah. But I'm saying, like, and then, like, eventually I started doing, like... I think I've gotten to the point now where I think what I've learned is what was the shock jokes that got laughs. Mm-hmm. Like I started understanding why it got a laugh, and then what was funny about how it was written and that kind of stuff. And then I started taking that kind of knowledge of the structure or whatever. Of, okay, this is a joke, and then putting that into other places, and still having moments where I say something that's really, because I have a few lines in my set that sometimes just get a straight up groan, and then I have the next line that'll get a laugh or whatever. Yeah. But I still definitely. I've calmed down a lot in terms of like how edgy I used to be, but I love all kinds of comedy. So I like having jokes that are clean and then having jokes that are dirty and like having a mix of both in my set.
A little silly.
Yeah, exactly. I enjoy it all. And like Brian Regan, clean comic, one of my favorites. Seinfeld, clean comic, I love him. But then there's also people that I enjoy that it's Richard Pryor, classic, Dave Chappelle, Patrice O'Neal, and guys like that.
Let's talk about Seinfeld for a second.
Yeah.
Because I do Seinfeld. I think he's one of the greatest comedy writers of all time.
Yeah.
I like his material the first time I heard it. My problem with Seinfeld is that he'll tell you this. He's like, when I do a show, like people come and they want to hear the greatest hits. And I don't think that's true for comics most of the time. That might be true for Seinfeld, right?
Yeah.
But I don't think that's true. I think the core difference between like comedians and musicians is like musicians can write a song that people want to hear all the time, over and over. Like you don't listen to jokes over and over the way you might watch a special more than once.
Yeah.
But you don't listen to jokes like you listen to songs.
Two people that I could listen to over and over again would be like Dave Attell and Rodney Dangerfield.
Okay.
They're just like, everything's quick and the jokes are hilarious. The punchlines.
Seinfeld was not.
Yeah.
But my point is just that he just goes out and does the same jokes, right?
Yeah. He'll switch it up, I think. Like he says he'll add like a new 10% like every couple of years.
Yeah.
And then so eventually it slowly evolves. It's probably a brand new set every like 8 years.
It's like the opposite of what most comics do.
Yeah. That's the new thing though, because what most comics do is in the Carlin was like, Carlin was like the first one to do an hour every single year, and Steve Martin would do that. But even like Pryor was probably like every 2 or 3 years.
Right.
But yeah, like I think it became more because of those handful of guys. It became more mainstream to make a new hour every year. But I think like a lot of the 70s and 80s and even 90s, there's a lot of guys who they've made a career out of just doing that same set for 10 years. Just hitting the clubs. And I think eventually it is true that unless you are Seinfeld, and because like to me he's like Paul McCartney when it comes to writing jokes. Like he writes jokes about Pop-Tarts, and then to me Rodney Dangerfield's like John Lennon. All of his jokes are about getting cheated on, and it's always like, oh, my wife, she's always sleeping around. Like all of his bits are just about a human being having the worst day of their life. There's like the light and the dark with them, but because I just think they're like a top just joke structure and just how every line and every word means something and where the comma.
Yeah.
But
those are things that like are like subconscious for me. Like I don't think I'm like to the point where I'm like consciously, okay, I pause here, or it's feelings based still.
Just recording it and listening back and then learning. Like I do believe it's listen back and where they laughed, put a star by that. And figure out why they laughed there. And a lot of the times, like you'll get a laugh from a moment that wasn't supposed to be funny, and it's usually because you said something in your true, honest, just how you talk to your friend's voice, and they liked that. It's so hard to figure out, dude. And like I've been doing this for going on 12 years now, and I still bomb. It never ends, dude. You do new material, most likely. Like I say this, like if I write 10 new jokes and try them at an open mic, I usually, like my batting average with 10 brand new jokes is usually 2 did well and 8 bombed. And I take those 2 and I just try to turn them into a little bit something better. And then And then even sometimes jokes that work, they just don't make it. You just forget about it. Some of them will remind me sometimes, hey, why aren't you doing that bit anymore about the thing? And I'm like, oh, I forgot about that. I was like, I haven't done that in 6 months because it's just not what you're interested in. Even though it was a good joke, it's just not what I like want to talk about.
Interesting things you want to talk about.
Like I was talking to this comic, Ian Aber. He's a comic from Atlanta. He's hilarious. And he was telling me something that he heard about, I can't remember who he said it might have been Chris Rock or somebody, but basically like a comedian has 5 subjects that they basically talk about for 15 minutes at a time, you know what I mean, like in like your whole career. So it's like you watch any special by any of your favorite comedians, it's usually about the same 5 subjects. Yeah. And so like, that's the things that they like to talk about it, and it's the things that they view from a million different angles. And so that's one thing where I've definitely figured out like the things that I like to talk about. A lot of it's like childhood or just trying to stay sober, jokes about that, or going to concerts or things like that. Movies. And I think that's one thing that happens too, is it gets easier to write. Even though writing jokes will never be easy, it's easier to get to what you want to talk about because the longer you do it, you realize what you want to talk about. And I think in the beginning, you just have all this stuff jumbled in your head, and it's hard to I think like good advice for anybody out there who's thinking about doing comedy or who is like on open mic level still and trying to get to a point where you're getting booked all the time. Think of the top 5 things you love, and it doesn't have to be like, and not anything shocking. So just like top 5 things that you love, or just pick 5 things you love. Pick 5 things that you hate and try to just write about those subjects and narrow it down to that, so you're not just sitting there, it's like, oh, should I write about hotels? Should I write about politics?
What everybody like, it's so different. Like, some comics don't even really sit down to write.
I don't sit down with a blank piece of paper and a pen and write. Like, I pace around like a psychopath and think of an entire joke in my head, basically. And then when I like what I have in my head, or at least where I'm going, then I'll start putting it down on paper. And like, I'll leave the setups with no mark. And then every time there's a punchline or some kind of tag, I put a star by it. Yeah. And then, like, a lot of the times my advice to people is if you're struggling with writer's block, which people's like, there's no writer's block. And I don't think you should try to force it, but I think one thing to help get over the hump that I've done is I'll take an old joke and just try to rewrite the punchline, because it's like putting a ball on a tee. It's like I just said, no one's
already got the setup.
It's literally already set up for me. It's like, just rewrite the punchline. Like I did that with the briefs joke. I do a joke about boxers and briefs, and I just kept rewriting what I thought briefs looked like, or like what I thought boxers looked like over and over again, or what I looked like when I wear briefs, or what I looked like, and I just kept thinking of different angles and analogies and funny stuff, and then I would try them all out at open mics, and I would narrow them down to what were getting the biggest laughs. I was like, okay, here's the 3 best ones for this. But I think, yeah, sometimes when you're trying to write new jokes, or you don't even really know how to write jokes yet, you just have so much, like the world's just in your head and you don't know what to pull out. So it's narrow it down for yourself. What's 5 things I love? What's 5 things I hate? Write about that. Or what's something I've already written that's gotten a laugh? Okay, maybe let me try to, this already works and I won't forget this. It's written down here. Let me try to rewrite it and see if I can get a bigger laugh on it. Or let me see if I can add a tag to this. Yeah. That maybe this could be an even bigger joke than just these 3 lines. This could end up being a 3-minute joke.
So you've talked a lot about your writing process, and you've talked a lot about kind of the early days of wanting to become a performer. I really want to know, Carson, what's the story with going from being in a band, I want to be a musician, to starting comedy at 20? And so I feel like we were at like age 16, you saw Phish, the band broke up, and then you guys would do these annual shows 3 months a year. How did that? Did you start doing comedy like during the off months when the band was not around, or what?
No, so the drummer in the band, Zeke Buckholtz, another one of my best friends, he actually owns the Crescent Theater in Mobile, Alabama, comedy club. He, oddly enough, we just graduated high school, so then this was October 2013. He did comedy one night in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. I think he did a couple open mics and decided he wanted to do stand-up comedy. So then we bought tickets, me, him, and another guy bought tickets to go see Phish in Reading, Pennsylvania. And so we drove from Mobile, Alabama to Reading, Pennsylvania, saw the show, and then on the way back, we dropped him off in Washington, D.C., where he just lived after we dropped him off, and and he just did comedy there in Philadelphia. I think he eventually moved to Philadelphia, and it was like for maybe 6 months.
Okay.
And then he moved back to Mobile, and he discovered an open mic that was happening at the Blind Mule, this restaurant in Mobile, and they're doing comedy in the attic every Wednesday, and I would go and just watch him do it and support him. And so I probably went and saw him do it like 5 or 6 times.
What was it?
He was telling me that I should do it, like I should sign up, you know what I mean? So then I signed up for the first time on October 8th, 2014. I still remember the date.
Do you remember like any of the first jokes you told?
My whole set, so you get 5 minutes at the open mic, and my first set was, I probably did 3 minutes, and it was all about the shirt that I was wearing, which was a Cheech and Chong shirt, and I don't even remember what the punchlines were or what I said. I just remember that it was...
That might be for the better.
It was awful. I just don't even remember. I just think... I don't even remember what the jokes were about. I just remember that I was wearing that shirt, and all my jokes were about me and my shirt. And then
it might be good that you don't remember.
I don't think I said anything like that would get me like in trouble. Yeah, but I'm sure all the punchlines were just horrendous. But then the next time I had wrote my first like joke, or kind of joke, and it got a laugh. And so it was like the second time on stage when I got a laugh off of writing something, I was like, oh wait, like I think I could do this. And then you go through some awful experiences for 12 years, and then you sit here and now I'm talking to you.
And I think you talked a lot about like the writing process that you went through and like how that developed as a stand-up over the years. What are some of the more like less artistic challenges that you can think about? Obviously, there's like life on the road and money, and I know that you've struggled with addiction and sobriety. And now you're 2 years sober.
Yeah.
And what are some of the biggest like what? So that's like kind of the overarching thing, the overarching story of everything. Life on the road is hard. Do you think that you tell a joke about your parent, one of your parents being an alcoholic, and that's how you make alcoholics, right? Like, do you think that was where a lot of your addiction really did come from, or do you think it was something that like the lifestyle also?
Yeah, it was. I think it was a combination of. I think a lot of me dealing with outside stress improperly, because I was a caretaker for my grandpa when I first started doing comedy. And then year 1 of comedy, I was 21, and my girlfriend was like, we were having a baby already when I was 21, and I was taking care of my grandfather, and I was trying to do stand-up comedy at night. And so I think a lot of the outside forces and stress and stuff and not being able to handle it, that started like when I really started drinking more is when my grandfather died.
Okay.
So I just handled that incorrectly, and I started drinking like every night.
Yeah.
And then it was just like balancing that cycle of trying to keep it together, and then eventually just being like, all right, I'd just rather be done with all this.
Yeah. A lot of addicts, when they, especially with alcoholism, like people talk about it became easier to just not do it than it was to control it.
Yeah.
And that's when the turning point was for them.
And I still smoke weed. And I still do. Yeah, so it doesn't even feel like, it feels wrong to say sober. Because it's like, no, 100%. Because there are people who, if they smoked one joint, like within 2 weeks, they'd be back on like trying to find Oxycontins. You know what I mean? And it's, so there's people who really struggle with things like on a whole other scale than what I'm dealing with. You know what I mean? I just knew that like alcohol was like gonna hold me back from everything, and so I knew like I had to get that out of my life.
So did you feel like you really hit a rock bottom, or was it really more of a I know I can't, like the ceiling is too low if I keep drinking?
Yeah, like I was just like I couldn't. I was like all my money was just going to the gas station at that point. Yeah. And then you just start chilling hard and not like working towards anything.
I heard Nate Bargatze tell a similar story where he like it wasn't like he was like drunk with his friends and like, nothing bad had happened, but he looked at them and he was just like, I gotta quit drinking or I'm not gonna get where I want to be.
Yeah.
And I think everybody that has. It's not like he didn't have things that he regretted that were caused by alcohol or him drinking too much or whatever, but I think it was not like my life has fallen apart because of it kind of realization.
Yeah, like I have friends that drink are doing great. Like they're like they can handle it. It doesn't affect their lives negatively. But like for me personally, it was just like a downward spiral of just couldn't get it together.
But you didn't really feel like you had hit a rock bottom, per se.
No, there was never that. There was a handful of moments that probably should have felt like that. But I think that's the thing. You just wake up and brush it off and be like, I guess we'll keep drinking.
Yeah.
But
I got you.
You know, nothing like I never got a DUI. Right. I never went to jail. I went to jail when I was like 18 for being on the roof of my high school, and we got caught with weed and alcohol because it was like around Mardi Gras.
Right.
We were tripping on acid. Of course, we did not tell the cops that.
That was smart.
So I had to spend the night in jail when I was like 2 weeks into being 18. That was the last time I've ever been in trouble with the cops. And thank God I quit.
A lot of dick.
And thank God I quit drinking. You know what I mean? Because I do have friends who have gotten like a lot of DUIs, but I just know that. No one's like, hell yeah, I got a DUI. It sucks, but it's a lot to deal with.
Yeah, I think DUIs are a turning point for a lot of people.
Yeah, for sure. And like most of my friends, everyone's grown up. We all have responsibilities and stuff now, so I've seen everybody calm down around me for the most part. But yeah, it is one of those things where it's, I think everybody peaks in their chaos in their like late 20s, and then at some point there's like a moment of I think I got to slow down a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, or at least like redirect that energy into something else.
And that's the other thing. Is I don't ever think about drinking because I'm like I just have so many other things that I'm focused on, and I've learned how to handle stress better. And realize that, like, you know, there's good things and the bad things, and not everything means it's the end of the universe or whatever. And I didn't even think that back in the day. I just think I can tell it's like I just got so used to having alcohol be the thing that cured everything that it just became a routine. It's like, okay, I got to go to...
it stops curing anything.
Yeah.
That's what you do.
He's like, all right, got to wake up, got to shower, got to go to work, got to get off work, got to black out, got to wake up, got to do it again. It just became like a part of everyday life. You don't even see it happening.
Was that part of taking your comedy career to the next level too? I think
I got to the point like when I first got into comedy before, because I would say like I started doing comedy at 20. I started drinking like really heavy at 23, 24, somewhere around there. But those first 3 years, I was like dedicated, and I would ride around. So we would go to, I figured out where all these music open mics were, and so I would just go to these music open mics. There would be like one at this place called the Blues Tavern, and it was all just like bikers with like ponytails, gray ponytails, and their wives. Just these dudes in their 60s who want to play Midnight Rider 3 times. It's yeah, exactly. It'd be 27-minute long Midnight Riders of a line of 7 guys waiting their turn to rip a guitar solo at the music open mic.
All played.
Yeah, it was cool. But I would just go into these music open mics and ask if I could do comedy, and then a friend of ours figured out that there was a coffee shop called Satori, and they were doing like a music poetry open mic. So we just asked them, like, hey, can we do comedy? And they're like, yeah, sure, why not? So we started doing comedy there too.
And then they were like, no, that was a bad idea.
No, they have other reasons. It's always a college bar that fucks it up for everybody, you know what I mean? Everyone's making fake IDs, and then the cops are like, there's underage drinking, and you're like, no. So yeah, the whole open mic got shut down. But I was like 20, 21 when I started. That was the other thing. I was not. I was lied and said I was 21 for the first year of comedy because I wasn't going to be able to do comedy if I was under 21. So I was already the first year. I remember announcing that I was 21 at one of the open mics, and the bartender was like, you motherfucker. Because I had been...
What were some of the things? So it's like I'm stumbling over my words here. You talked about how you're an adult now with responsibilities, and you're very much like aware of who you are. And what do you talk about on stage at 20?
Oh, dude, nothing. Jerking off.
Yeah, like I think this is part of why I waited so long to do comedy in my life. Like, one of the big reasons was like I don't think I had any.
Yeah,
really long
dude.
time.
A 20-year-old, like I was a 20-year-old kid who like only. For some reason, young guys, it's always young dudes, they start off thinking comedy is like this. Not everybody, but they only hear certain words. It's stand up. So like literally it was all trying to be shocking. I was like, I know what's funny. Cancer, AIDS, 9/11.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then like eventually after, enough, because then what happens is if you do a well-written joke about one of those things from like an interesting perspective and it gets a laugh, then you're like, okay, well shit, that got a laugh. But then all the other ones that get groans, you're like, why is that getting groans? And you really have to look at it and go, well, it's getting groans because it's just a shitty thing to say.
Right, yeah.
So it's, who do I want to be? And then you start figuring it out and chiseling it away. And then, you start understanding like context and then also different perspectives. And
so one thing you talked about that shaped your comedy was like what you're talking about here, like going up as a blank slate and the audience kind of chiseling away. How much of that do you think went into your personal development as a person too, as a human being too? Do you think that sort of approach helped shape your like moral view on the world too?
Yeah, I think so.
That's interesting.
Definitely. I think also like just getting sober helped me. I just don't. I don't know. I can tell there's a transformation from being like overtly dirty to whatever I'm doing now, which is like a PG-13/R thing. Yeah, I don't know. I guess so. I guess it's helped in that way. But I think also you just get older and you meet all kinds of people, especially with comedy, you travel more.
12 years. I guess the bigger question.
And I've performed in front of all kinds of audiences, but really just mainly in the South. So it's, yeah.
I guess my question though is, as somebody who, like, you've spent more than a third of your life as a comic and starting at such a young age when you didn't necessarily have a formed worldview, like how much do you think like being a comic and these experiences of talking about things and getting feedback, how much of that has shaped who you are as a person?
A lot.
Yeah,
a lot.
It seems like.
I think like I don't notice until I go back and say like, I listen to an old thing or I like watch an old thing of myself or whatever. There's a video that I put on my YouTube, and it's me and 2 of my friends the first time we ever tried to go on a tour, and it's 2017, so I'm 23 years old. I've been doing comedy for 3 years, and we went to Austin. This is before Joe Rogan or anybody lived there. And we went to Austin, and we went to Tallahassee here to Birds, and we went to Knoxville, Tennessee, and we did this whole trip of the South. And going back and watching that video and then seeing where I'm at now, it was just I didn't realize. I was like, man, this is really become a huge part of my life. It really has shaped a lot of all my closest friends now are stand-up comedians. The people that I normally talk to and hang out with for the most part are all comics.
Yeah.
And that was a slow transformation of when I started. I had all my friends that I knew, comedians that I saw at open mics, and then eventually things transfer and people go this way and you go this way, and it's damn, I only hang out with comics.
I mean, I'm somebody that pretty much only hung out with musicians for the longest time. It was just I was the roadie or the fucking promo guy or the merch guy, or eventually I managed bands, and I tried to start a small record label here and all kinds of shit. But
yeah. And I have friends that aren't comics, you know what I mean? But it used to be 80-20 this way, and now it's 80-20 the other way.
And what I'm getting at is now it's 50-50 comics and musicians.
Yeah.
Now I hang out with comics and I hang out with musicians.
Yeah.
But that's about it. And, exactly. Yeah, it's changed my social life completely. But it also, I think, you're somebody that had their a thing. You're in a band. You growing up, you had this thing that you produced, that you made, that you were proud of, and you were focused on, and it was your output. And I don't think I ever had that until I started doing comedy.
Yeah.
So for me, when I the way that comedy and doing comedy is helped shape who I am, is it's almost given me a new sense of purpose.
Yeah.
And confidence in my place in the world. And that too.
That's awesome. And I think it's the best. That's the one thing for when you tell a joke and it gets a laugh in front of a group of strangers who have no idea who you are, and they're basically have all with a noise said yes to the thing that you did. That's the greatest feeling, dude.
You cannot overdose.
It's the closest I'll feel to feeling like Vince Carter doing a windmill dunk. Because that's sometimes I want to feel what it feels like to be Vince Carter for 2 seconds. Yeah, I just want to if there was a time machine and it's you can be anybody you want, but you only get 15 seconds. I'm I want to be Vince Carter when he jumped over that guy in the Olympics. That's who I want to be for 15 seconds.
You're about to record your first special.
Yeah.
At what point do you think you decided you felt like you were ready?
I guess
that's a hard question for a lot of comedians.
I guess it was because other people told me that I should do it.
Okay.
Which I think is a good sign.
I think that means it's too late.
Yeah.
You should have done it.
Because I have...
Not too late, but... Yeah.
I have a couple of friends that have made specials, and they're awesome. My friend Olivia Cersei made a special. She made a special, and it's great.
It's fucking hilarious. I think I watched it over the holidays, but I loved it. Yeah, it was hilarious.
So there was just different people that said I should make a special, and so I was and then I when I thought about it, and I was I do have the material to do a half-hour special, and some of these jokes I've been doing for a long time, and I'm tired of it. And I feel it's also, every comedian thinks that they don't work hard enough, and if we probably all don't.
Yeah.
And I feel that way about myself all the time. I'll go through pockets where I'm writing like crazy, and then I'll be a lazy bastard for a month. You know what I mean? And won't write shit.
Yeah.
And so I really want to, because some of these jokes are so old, and I would, not all of it, 10 minutes of this 30 minutes are jokes that I have been doing for years, and then 20 minutes of it is stuff that I've probably written in the past year or two.
Okay.
But I do want to write it and scrap it all, and then force myself to, all right, you've been doing this for now 12 years. You write an hour from scratch, start working towards it, put the work in, and so that's what I'm going to try to do.
So what goes in when you're putting together a special? how do you approach that differently than doing a set of the same amount of time somewhere?
Normally when I'm performing, I just know how all I try to remember is how I'm going to open and how I'm going to close. And sometimes how I'm going to close will change depending on how the set's going.
Okay.
If I'm headlining. If I'm featuring, I pretty much have down what I'm going to do for a 15 to 20 minute set. But if I'm doing like 30 plus, I pretty much just know how I'm going to open the first like 2-3 minutes and then how I'm going to close the last 2 or 3 minutes. And then in between, I'll just see what happens and let the energy goes how it goes. But what I've been doing for this past month is actually narrowing down like 30 minutes that like works, where I can tell I like the ebb and flow of how like each subject changes to this one and changes to this one.
Yeah.
Wraps up at the end.
That was my next question was like, is there like I think some comics put out a special and it's just like the greatest hits of their jokes, and they're not longer form comics that tell stories. Like Jesselneck is somebody that comes to mind, even though his last special he got a little bit more involved and had a bit of a narrative going throughout of it. Most of them are just like, boom, let me get the jokes per minute up. How intentional are you trying to build a narrative in your special, and how much of it is, I've got these jokes and I just want to connect them?
Like usually I just kind of find the connections like naturally just by telling them and doing different sets. You know?
Yeah.
And that's probably being lazy. Like I should be looking, and this is the thing where like I never feel like I'm doing enough work. I should be looking down and finding the connections, because
your brain is doing that though.
Yeah, I think naturally it's trying to like like the beginning set list that I was doing when this tour started, like in comparison to like now, I can already tell where it's like towards the middle part I've definitely slid a lot of things out, other things in, and mixed some things up to where it was in the beginning. So the ending I'm worried about now because of last night.
You should be ready.
Because they were taken aback.
Yeah, it was young kids. They were afraid to laugh at a lot of things. One thing that I'll say, man, is you weren't there early. Like, I feel like the middle comics, but the early comics, they were not having us. They were not having it. It was like an ebb and flow all night. It was weird. Like, they were pretty responsive for me, but compared to like 2 weeks ago, it was almost the same set that I did.
Yeah.
Totally different crowd, but it was like they were afraid to laugh.
Yeah.
And that's what I've experienced with younger audiences in general. Can you talk about somebody who's toured the last month? What have you noticed are some of no group of people is uniform, right? But
yeah. So one thing that I've noticed, I think that is like when I first started, it was pretty much your average older people were less offended. Mm-hmm. Unless you, in the South, sometimes, if you punch down on God and Jesus too much.
Can you punch down on God?
Yeah.
You can. God.
I've seen some older people get upset or just straight up leave if they feel like, you're shitting on the Lord too much.
So I guess you can punch up and down on God.
But so everyone acts like there's a generation that's not offended, and you can find someone's button no matter what. Yeah. But I have noticed like younger people definitely don't like it when you talk about the hot button issues in a way that they view as a negative way. You know what I mean? So you got to be, if the joke's well written, like I'm a big believer, if it's a good joke, people, they'll give it up.
Yeah.
And if it's not, you just have to be careful. Because like I do certain jokes where it's, I can look at the audience and I can tell they might find this too dirty. You know what I mean? Like older.
Do it more.
It makes me curious on what's gonna happen. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like I think sometimes I used to overly be like, oh, I have something to prove to you now, and then it ruined the energy of the room. No. And now it's more, I try to go up with this understanding of, hear me out. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because especially when I've done older crowds and I'll do like jokes about pornography or like dirty or sex jokes and stuff. I feel like if the joke's well written, they'll laugh. And if I'm just being dirty to be dirty, I'll figure that out based on their reactions.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just there's all different kinds of things. I think like every audience is, you should try everything in every kind of room. Because like I just did, like North Carolina, I did a show at the Playhouse in Jacksonville, North Carolina, which is near Camp Lejeune, which is a military base, and then in another place called Chicanos. So it was like families in there with kids the next night. So I had to do headline with, I did my R set, and then I headlined the next night and had to do like a PG-13 PG or set. 2 nights later, I was at this place in Matthews, North Carolina. You could tell they had money. And so then it was weird in that town because it's like they love certain dirty shit, but then certain stuff they're like, they would just fall silent. I'm glad I did this month on the road because I'll be back home, and a lot of the people in the audience are people that are there to support me. You know what I mean? So like I
want to laugh.
I have that in my favor, but I also wanted an honest opinion on these jokes, where it's like, let me tour of all these cities where no one in the audience has any idea who I am, and figure out which of these jokes are unanimously funny, almost everywhere.
Yeah.
And so, but that other joke did great in North Carolina. The one that I'm planning on ending, we won't give it away.
Hey, of course not.
But the one that I'm planning on,
Cool.
but the joke that I plan on ending the special with in North Carolina, the 2 times that I did it, it did great. It got the reaction that I was hoping it would get. And then last night, everybody was like, absolutely not. And it makes me worried now. I'm like, oh shit, I have 2 more shows to figure this out.
I think I would not listen to that room on that joke, and I'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
I would take that response with a grain of salt.
I'm worried if I am going too emotional and really wrapping people too far in to where I say that it is like, why would you do that to me? But I think now that I know that's a possibility, I should just stick with it. Trust that I'm in a room where everybody knows me, and then no matter what the reaction is, just stand there with a smile on my face and sit in it.
Yeah.
And then say goodnight.
I think that is exactly the right way to do it.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%, man. Because I think if you sit in it, even if they have that response initially, it's okay.
And I have another line that I didn't do last night. There's another line that I have.
Tell me after if you want. But
Yeah, I'll tell you after. I didn't do it last night because I was like, if they hated that to that level, they're gonna hate what's supposed to be the last line. So I have no like qualms with.
you might be wrong about that too. I feel like sometimes you push.
Oh, I pulled out.
If you don't push it over the line, that's when you fucked up. Because it's, all right, I'm uncomfortable, but if you shove them over the line.
They didn't know that there was another line coming. So I just pivoted to shitting on towns and stuff, and then I'm shitting on Mobile. And I ended with a big laugh, so it's like, it's fine. It's fine. And when I pivoted and found a different direction, and we got where we needed to go. But I was shocked. What's so funny is like I read like Louis C.K. said something about this in an interview, but it is true. It's like I got too cocky with that joke, and I forgot that it's like it's an awful thing to say. So it's literally, because it did well, it was like the last 3 times I've said it, I was like, got this. So then I said it, and everyone was like, and I was like, oh shit. Oh shit, I forgot. I'm sorry.
Though there is also like a point where if you sit in that uncomfortableness for a minute, then people find it funny. And that's what I think you're like on to with it. It's like they gotta calm down, and then they'll see the humor. Like the shock wears off, and then they see how smart it is too.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, I think I just need to approach it with more sensitivity.
Yeah.
I think I said it last night too confidently, and that made it worse. You know what I mean?
So this is, I think, where we might just be different as comics. I would have taken the response you got last night from that joke as a win.
Oh, I did not.
I would have.
It made my forehead sweat a little bit. I was like, oh, they hate me. I was like 17 minutes in at that point, and for 16 minutes and 59 seconds, they loved me. And then in 1 second, they were like, get the fuck out of Tallahassee.
Just a groan.
I know. But the look on you know what really hurt me? It was the look on the lady's face. All the women in the crowd were like, just like this during my whole story. And then when I ripped the cord on that, I just saw them like, I hate this guy. Like, I actually hate this guy. And that kind of broke my heart a little bit.
I don't think they hated you.
No, I think it was fine.
Yeah.
I think the fact that I pivoted and moved on, it made it better because like it's just comedy.
Yeah.
And I think that made the joke more likable to bandage it up on the end. If I would have done the last line, there's no way, dude. They would have. I knew better.
I'm anxious to hear that. But
And basically, I feel it makes part of me feels like I did the right thing. Part of me makes me feel like a pussy. You know what I mean?
Well, I just want to note right here that after he told me what the line was, I totally agreed that he should not have told it. So Carson was right here. He made the right call. Reading the room is always really important.
I'd also want to respect the room and don't want anybody to. You don't want to be the guy that was like, I said the thing, and they're like, now we can't do comedy here. And it's not like I have anything to say that's bad, nor would that joke, even in the line, is not that bad.
There's nothing like.
I just don't want to give away the joke because that's how I'm going to end my special.
You can actually end up.
It's not like no one would have actually been mad if I said the last line, but it just would have been the continuation of please stop.
What's next for you, man? What do you think? Do you have goals?
Yeah.
With what you have in front of you?
No, I have goals.
I didn't mean that. I don't really have goals.
No, I understand. I didn't have goals until I got sober. Didn't even think about it. All I knew was I wanted to do comedy, and I got to the point that I was just getting drunk every night and doing it once a week. You know?
I think the way that I approach it is more like what Hank Green. Do you know Hank Green? He's like a science pop star. Is that?
There it is.
Yeah. But what he basically says is like having goals is fine, but like operating with the tools you have and just making whatever you can with what you have is usually how he operates, right? He makes a new app and it's just like because I can and I want to, not because I have this goal of making this.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean by like, I don't have goals. It sounds like with the special, that's what happened is I have all the tools to do this, and people are telling me I should do this. So that's
this is like where I've like set a goal and I've been working towards this one thing, which has been exciting. After that, my goal is to try to build to an hour, do another special maybe in 2 years, and in between that, I want to try to get booked at more clubs, actual comedy clubs, and more festivals. So I did a few festivals this past year, and
Has that been a good experience?
Yeah, I've enjoyed it. Going to festivals is fun to me.
Some of the festivals that you like got a lot out of.
Fountain City Comedy Festival, and another one that I enjoyed was the Lunchbox Comedy Festival, just because it was like a lot of Louisiana and Mississippi like comics that I'm friends with.
Yeah.
And so that was like it almost felt like a family gathering. So it was like there's like people that I hadn't seen in years. So it was fun. That's a good one. But the Fountain City Comedy Festival was cool because that's a guy named Steven Taylor. And there's other people involved. I can't think of their names right now, but he's the one that I usually talk to from that area because in Kansas City. Okay. And so it was the fourth one that they did, and it was the first time that I did one. And the cool thing about it was like they had a day where they had a waffle bar, and so we got up early one morning and went to this bar that they
coveted as fuck.
so like look. they had a guy that came in, this dude Will, who's like he's a saint. He like came in from Colorado or something and just rented a car and was just willing to drive all the comics wherever they needed to go for free. So he literally just picked us up. We had places to stay for free. Like, they hooked us up with all this stuff. They had weed's legal on the Missouri side of Kansas City, so that was the shit. That was the shit. Just don't go to the Kansas side. And then fucking, like, all the venues were like close by. They were all badass. Yeah, Kansas City's just cool. I love the whole scene. The barbecue, best I've ever had in my life. It was killer. And then one morning they did this awesome thing that I have notes in my notebook that I like wrote down from this night. But they did a industry thing where we all went to this bar at like 11 a.m., 10 a.m., and they had the waffle bar like ready so we could have breakfast. And they had 4 different people that booked like major like festivals or clubs, or one guy ran Don't Tell Comedy.
Okay.
But he was like one of the head guys that run it nationwide, and they had them sit on the stage and just give us all like career advice about where to go, or where they think comedy's going, or where they see it going in the next 5 years, and all this different stuff. And I took down a bunch of notes, and then they like just explained also like what they're looking for, like when you submit a video or when you submit different things. And so it was just super. Not only was like the festival, like, they took care of us, the shows were all like packed and awesome, and then like I got a lot of great like industry advice out of it. Or, like, a lot of the times you're just bobbing your head around mics trying to get as much stage time as possible.
Yeah.
And the best way, I think a lot of people still, I know that the social media side is important because I'm trying to build my social media presence and look as professional as possible. But I think some people get so stuck into that they stop writing and forget that, like, at the end of the day, your social media is a commercial for a product that needs to be good and tight on stage. So it's like your number one focus should be getting as funny as possible and like really building the best set possible, and then building your social media around a product that's a product. I hate that we even have to talk like this. It's like icky. Like I want to throw it off of me. It sucks. But it's
self-promotion's so hard sometimes.
When towards the end of my drinking, I took a job. This is like the peak of my alcoholism, but I took a job as a broker for 1 year with a company called, you can bleep that if you want. Just
you don't work there anymore.
No, they're awful. It's like it's a blood-sucking vampire corporation. You would have to do this thing for the company that they would convince you was the only way to get ahead, and the way to do that was you had to get to work at 4 a.m. to do the thing, between 4 and 6 a.m., but you don't start getting paid for your job till 6:15.
Oh, okay.
So it's you're doing like all this extra work for free that they're convincing you is the only. It's just it's corporate, just.
Yeah. When you said vampire blood-sucking corporation,
so it was like I was not. There's people there was like that was what they were meant to do. Dude, they were very successful at it, and they could do the whole mumbo jumbo, and they liked wearing
people are good at evil.
They like wearing the khakis and. It would be so weird, dude. Office environments are so weird because it would be like a bunch of bros. It was like ex-fraternity dudes. It was like ex-athletes, ex-military guys. That was like 80% of the staff. That's like the type of people that they were trying to like get to work there. Like, yeah, exactly. And then it would just be so weird because it'd be like somebody over here is like cussing out another dude. There's a guy with a Russian accent cussing me out from a truck, and then the dude behind you like rolls around on wheelies like one of those balls in a cup. You know what I mean? You're like, what the hell is going on in this place, dude? Someone's shooting a basketball in the corner and
straight up Severance kind of shit going on.
Yeah.
Is this the place where you got the waffle bar?
No. That was a comedy festival. That was actually fun.
If you haven't watched Severance, there's it's like a workplace comedy.
Oh, okay, I've heard of it. Yeah.
It's a waffle party.
Oh, nice.
And the line from it is that it's coveted as fuck. The waffle party sounds like it would be a thing at this company.
But I'll say this, having shit on one thing that it did that was good for my life was getting prepared for that interview and really wanting that job and having to go through the whole 3 interview process and go out and get my own suit, because I was just a drunk mess at this point in my life. And one day I was just sitting at work at my job waiting tables, and I was just tired of it, and I was like, I went online, I was like, jobs hiring in Mobile, and it was the first thing I saw, and I clicked on it and I filled out the application, and they called me the next day and said they wanted to do a phone interview, and I like did that, and then they wanted to do 2 in-person interviews, and I had to wear a suit, and I did that, and then I got the job, and I had to do 6 months of training where you could not get the job at the end possibly, and I got it. And then everything that like I did to do that, because I was still drinking heavy at the time, but it made me more like professional and mentally aware.
Stepped up, and
there's a way that I still want to carry myself now that I wasn't carrying myself before, and a lot of it was preparing for that job and getting that job, regardless of how much I just would never do that again.
Yeah.
But towards the end of my drinking there, I can't say this because I don't work there anymore, but I was like not handling the stress of trying to keep that job correctly, because there's a number that you always have to try to hit in sales and all that shit. And so I would like literally like clock in on my lunch break, and there was a restaurant, a Mexican restaurant around the corner, and I would go to it, and I would sit in a booth that faced the entrance, and I would order 3 double shots of tequila, and I would try to slam them real quick and make sure no one from my job would walk in and see me, and then I'd clock out, or you know what I mean, I'd sign my check, and then I'd run back to work real quick, and I'd go in and sit at the computer just woo.
That's one of those times where you're like, oh, that should have been a sign.
Yeah, it started feeling like flight a little bit. I was like, I think I need to chill out.
Because if anybody wanted to hire me as badly as they wanted to hire you, it sounds like, I would have taken that as a red flag.
Yeah.
Hey, man.
Yeah, no, it's... Dude, it's so funny. My buddy Nick, he's a comic in Mobile. Nick Brackett, he's hilarious. He tried to get that job too, and he ruined it all. He got to the last interview, and he's perfect for that job. And I don't mean that in a bad way.
Okay.
I just mean he's a server at a restaurant. He's now the manager of the...
Personable, very...
He was a server and a bartender, now he's the manager of the place. Like, in the service energy sales position, he's the shit, dude. He's just good at that. So it's like, I know that they wanted him. And he gets to the last interview, and they're like, so yeah, we just want to make... Basically, we're saying, like, we just want to make sure that you're not going to use foul language, which they really, like... If you're crushing there and making them $1 million, you can say whatever the fuck you want on the phone. But basically, just make sure you're not gonna get angry or like cuss on the phone with anybody. Like, no, I'm not gonna tell anybody to fuck off if that's what you mean. And just saying that, they were like, nah, and he didn't get the job. And I'm like, why would you say that? Why would you say the thing? Even in an example of the thing that they don't want to come out of your mouth at all.
Like that whitest kid's...
Yeah. But no, so, yeah. That place stressed me out. It really did. I remember there was a manager there.
I bet you got some good material out of it, though.
No, I got nothing out of it, dude. It's like a nightmare to think about. I just hated getting up and going to that place.
Sharing it with us here.
Yeah, no, it's fine. They have like an 80% turnover rate there, too. So it's like every 6 months, dude, you look around and half the people that were there are not there anymore, dude. They're like fired or quit. Because it's a stressful job. But I remember when I hit the number that I needed to pass the internship. I remember one of the managers there who was like, man, I thought we were going to kill you there for a second. I could tell you were stressed out. And I was like, yeah, I'm not going to lie, I was.
Double shots of tequila on my lunch break.
Yeah. Everyone there would describe that when you first tried to get the job, to make you like feel like it was cool, they'd be like, it's like PG-13 Wolf of Wall Street. So we can vape in the bathroom. Cool. Every job that I've ever worked at, it's like that Dave Attell bit when it's like, you should have been there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're like, I swear to God, every job I've ever worked at, the whole place is like, dude, if you would have worked here 6 months ago, we were literally banging strippers and doing cocaine in the bathrooms. Like, man, shit's changed now, dude. used to get free food, now it's half off. It's like every time I work at a place,
God.
I should have worked there 6 months before. It was like, oh yeah, dude, it was fucking George Clinton would come in with the saxophone player every Tuesday. Like, what? I won't do that anymore. What the fuck?
So the last thing I want to ask you about, because I realized we never tied up this little bit, is your band recorded an album 2 years ago.
Yeah.
After years of doing this cyclical, seasonal show thing. Tell me about that.
It was during COVID, and we had nothing going on, and I was just drinking like a half a bottle of Evan Williams every day.
Oh, God.
And room temperature Andy Gator. That was my go-to during COVID, and I was watching The Exorcist like every night. That was at the time, it was just like, this is what I'm doing, and I look back at that time and I'm like, that's pretty dark. Something's going on there. And I still love The Exorcist. I'd watch it tonight. But, like, every night and drinking whiskey, you're like, okay, this dude's literally fighting demons, like, on the television screen and in life. But my buddy Zeke hit me up, the one that owns the comedy club that first started doing comedy. And he was like, he gave me this speech, dude. He gave me the fucking, we need to be doing something, bro. We need to be, like, it's time, dude. Like, we've been making these music for all these years. Like, we need to make an album or try to, like, make music.
Yeah.
And so during COVID, I'd go over to his house because he lives in my neighborhood, and we'd sit in his garage, dude, till sunrise, and we would make songs and just eat mushrooms and drink whatever, and just sit there and play music, dude, and just record, and then whatever we liked, we would go and we would get our friends to like record verses on it and stuff, or play another instrument or whatever, and then we would make a music video out of our favorite songs. So it got to the point that we were releasing like one music video a month. We did that for about 2 years, probably 15 to 20 music videos on YouTube.
Okay.
Shropshire Collective.
Yeah, I'll link it in the description.
So all COVID, that's what we were doing. We'd make a song and then make a music video for the song. Make a song and then make a music video for the song. We were just doing that. And then eventually it was like, we should make an album. So we took all of our favorite songs, basically, and that was probably like 90%, or not 90%, it was probably like 60% of the album. And then the other 40% was probably like newer songs that we were working on that we like. Yeah. You always want your newer shit's always your favorite shit. You know?
Yeah.
So, and we kept getting better, so that it was hard to pick older songs that we liked, because it was like, that kind of sounds like trash now 2 years later in comparison to what we're doing now.
Yeah.
Because you start figuring out recording better and different things like that. So yeah, so we basically just compiled all of our favorite songs and then had our buddy produce it, mix it, and all that, and then made an album.
Do you think, like, going into the process of like making an album and music videos led you to deciding to make a special too?
It made me decide that I'm going to edit it myself.
Okay.
Because I did a couple of our music videos and edited them, and then we've done short films and stuff in the past, and I just enjoy editing. And also, for my first special, if it's gonna be bad, I want it to be my fault.
Word.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I want to learn. So I have a bunch of friends that are helping me film, which is awesome, that I trust that'll do that. And then I have another friend of mine that's a comedian that he's good at editing too. And so he's going to like co-edit with me.
Gotcha.
And be like an extra set of eyes.
Do you have a name for it yet?
So the working title at the moment is Just a Matter of Time.
Just a Matter of Time.
But I think I just like that because the story behind that, I don't have a joke for it. The story behind that is I got fired from a job, and then the boss hired me back. And when I walked in my first day back, he looked at me and he goes, "If it isn't old J Mott." And I was like, "What does that mean?" He goes, "Just a matter of time." And I thought that was hilarious. So I named it that, but it's really just a working title for the filming of the special, I think, just because I like how it sounds. I think it might draw people in more, but it makes it sound like a bigger deal than it actually is. You know what I mean?
Whatever the actual title is.
I'm probably going to name it something that I say in a line in one of the... I want to find a line in my act that I think represents the whole thing.
You could just
like
call
the classic way.
Yeah, you could just call it a line from my act.
Yeah. I mean, I'll probably just find something that I say in the special and make that the.
I'm really fucking
title.
excited for it, man.
Thank you, man. I'm excited too.
Thanks for coming on the show. Is there anything else you want to mention before we wrap it up?
Yeah, listen to that album by Shropshire Collective. It's called For the Children. My special.
Linked in the description.
Yeah, you can find me at Carson Taylor Comedy on everything. Although I just deleted my TikTok. But I still have my Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Special will be coming out in probably like 2 months.
I'll update. Once it's out, I'll put a link to it in the description. And
Sweet.
until then, I'll put links to everything else, too.
Sweet. Appreciate it.
Thanks for being here, man. That was my talk with Carson Taylor. Make sure you check out his comedy special, Tally Ho. It drops on the 17th. Come see me up in Athens. And I'll see y'all Saturday at Phipps Farm for P-Funk Fest. Thanks for listening.